Hello everyone, it's Simon here and welcome to a brand new video here on this channel. Today I've got some tea here. It's actually getting kinda warm, but we are gonna talk a little bit about ghost stories. So since we are in Halloween season, I decided to do this kinda moment video of creepy stories from my childhood that actually happened, and one in particular actually makes my skin crawl when I think about it. So if you don't know, I live in Italy, and Italy is such an old country. I feel like if ghosts are real, they would live all in Italy. I actually have a couple of stories from when I was little that are actually they do take place in this apartment, and a couple that don't. So I'm gonna start with the one that are in this apartment that I actually live in right now. Before actually starting to talk about these stories, I'm gonna say I'm not 100% like, I don't know how I feel about ghosts. Like, it's a cool concept to think about ghosts existing, but talking about the being sure that ghosts exist is obviously not possible, and it's cool to think about that they exist. So these stories are cool in my opinion, but I don't believe that ghosts exist. We're gonna start with the stories that come from this apartment that I live in already. Me and my family, we moved to this apartment when I was 2.5 years old. So this building that was renovated, it was before a factory, and it used to make, I think, shirts, if I'm not mistaken, like clothes, and it was renovated kind of recently, like in the 90s. And actually, fun fact, my grandmother used to work in this factory. So I have a couple of stories that are kind of creepy, I guess, about this apartment. So the first one is from when I was little. It was something that would happen not even once or twice. It was something that happened almost regularly every time I went to the bathroom. So we have a corridor that obviously connects the entire house, and we have a bathroom, and when you're sitting on the toilet from the bathroom, if you watch towards the door, you can see the corridor. And when I was little, I remember that I didn't really love closing the door when I went to the bathroom, because I honestly, first I didn't really care, and second, I was kind of scared of pooping with the door closed. And I remember every time, like, there was a period of my life where almost every time I went to the bathroom, I would see with the corner of my eye while pooping, with the corner of my eye towards the door, I would see like a figure walking through the corridor. And at first I was like, yeah, that's my mom. And then it happened again. It wasn't like clear, like I couldn't really figure out, because as soon as I turned, obviously I couldn't see anybody. And in my mind, it was like, oh, they just are outside my vision. Like, I cannot see because of the door frame, right? But thinking about it, like, it's creepy that it was such a common occurrence. Like, I feel like my parents wouldn't really go through that corridor as many times, because like the living area is all on one side of the corridor, unless they are going to the bedroom. But why would they go back and forth from the bedroom to the living area so many times? Like, it doesn't make much sense, right? So I always felt kind of creeped out about this. Also, I feel like this is all my imagination, but I think like at the time I saw like a hood or something, so it doesn't, like, if it's a hooded person, like, why my parents don't wear like hoodies or something, so why would they have a hood while walking through? Like, it didn't make much sense. But I think like that was just my imagination making, like, but I saw something move. That's the thing, like, I saw something move, that's sure. Like, I remember seeing people going through. Like, that was creepy. But I guess it could also be my imagination, because I was 3 years old. So like, I think that when I was around, I say 5, 6, when I think like around when my sister was born, is when I stopped seeing this figure walking. And honestly, right now, just talking about it, I feel like I'm being watched. Whoa. So, next thing, still talking about this apartment. This is something that still happens sometimes, and it's so like, I don't know exactly what. I think I have an explanation, and that's what I'm saying to myself every time I hear this sound. It's not like a figure or anything. It's not nothing creepy. When I'm in this bedroom, which is at one side of the apartment, at the other side there is the living area. Sometimes when I'm going to sleep, and usually is when everybody else is asleep, so I do my check around, I close all the windows and the doors, and then I go back to sleep. I turn off the lights, I lay down in bed, and then I hear clicks, like light switches. The same sound that you hear when you click a light switch. Like, if I turn off this light, this sound right here, and I hear it like it's the same that my house light switches, like the one for the main lights in the living area, do like they do the same exact sound. It feels like there's somebody in the living area turning on the lights to, I don't know, do something. Like, I don't know, like if it's my father like waking up and going to drink something, that's the same sound. It feels like somebody is going, turning on the lights, walking around. I don't hear like footsteps or anything. I don't hear like movements. I don't feel like, I don't hear anything move, like being dragged, or I don't hear any of that, just light switches, and I don't understand where they come from. My idea is that I hear somebody upstairs using the light switches, because since these apartments were all renovated at the same time, they all have the same structures. So the door frames are the same, the main doors are the same, the light switches are the same, the vents are the same. So that's my idea behind it. Like, I think that somebody upstairs, one of my neighbors upstairs, is turning on the lights or turning off the lights, and I hear that sound, because it doesn't happen every time. It doesn't happen at a specific time, just when everybody is asleep and the house is silent and I can hear it. So that's my idea behind it. That's why probably I hear it. That's my explanation, but it's still kind of creepy, because every time I hear it, I feel like somebody is in my living room. So I have a couple more stories. One is from my home where we went to on vacation every summer from when I was little, like from when I was born till I was 12, 13 years old. We went to on vacation for like most of the summer on in a house in the mountains near where we live. So it's like an hour away from where we live. The place is called Fayeto, if you care about it. I don't know why you would. But we would have a house there for, like, my grandparents rented this house. Every year it was the same house. We had like all our stuff there. That house was very old, obviously. It was in the mountains. It was made of stone. I loved that house. It's so beautiful. My bedroom, where I slept with my sister and my parents, was one bedroom with a king-size bed for my parents and a bunk bed for me and my sister. We would sleep there, and it was at the top floor. We would have my bedroom here. Then there was the bathroom and the living area with the kitchen. Above us, there was only like the attic. That wasn't really like an attic that you can live in. It was more like storage attic, something like that. And it wasn't actually used by us. It was used by the mother of the owner of the house. She was like 100 years old. Like, I'm not kidding. She was 100 years old. And she was still super active and going up the stairs, and she was amazing, super fun, super nice. And so we wouldn't go into this attic ever, but she wouldn't really go to the attic ever, because it was like on the third, fourth floor, honestly. Because my bedroom was on the third floor, so she would have to do a couple more stairs to go into this attic. So she would really go there only with her son, so she wasn't going there every time. But I kid you not, I would hear footsteps in the night coming from that attic. Like, that door, I feel like that door was used twice every year at most, but every time, every night, like every night, I would hear footsteps coming from this attic. And honestly, now thinking about it, it's probably like was rats or some kind of animals, because we're in the mountains, so there were plenty of animals. We're basically in the middle of the woods, but I feel like they were footsteps, not like noises that a rat makes. So that's probably kind of creepy. Like, that was kind of creepy. And something else creepy, honestly, that I just reminded myself of while we were exploring the forest. We were living in Faito, which is this little village, basically like 300 people live there. And there is a church and a little cemetery. So there was the church, and there is a little road going down a little bit towards like a little hill, I guess. Go a little down the hill, and at the end of the hill there was the cemetery. And just after the cemetery, there were just straight up woods. So we went to explore there, and we loved exploring the woods, me and my cousins. So when entering the woods, a couple hundred meters after the cemetery, there was this weird little cabin slash house that was super creepy. Like, it had so many weird symbols in front. Like, there was this weird peephole with the sun. I remember there were like symbols, like weird symbols that we never understood. And sometimes we found also one time we found a letter stuck into the barbed wire in front of the property. Like that was so weird. And I remember that we called that house the Uncle Tom's cabin, like the book, but it didn't really make sense. It doesn't make sense with the book. It's not like connected to it. And there was like a legend going on about it. I don't know if we made it up or if it was just an actual thing about the like a legend going around town. But the legend was that somebody used to live there, and they were like, I guess, like a farmer going doing agriculture and stuff, and something happened and they died, and that's the story behind it. And the story is that you see a scarecrow that wears his skin, something like that. It was super creepy. And I just thinking about it makes me like, oof, I have goosebumps all over my, like, I don't know if I honestly I feel kind of like weird. So my last story is probably the creepiest, so that's why I left it for last. So when I was in kindergarten, we did 3 years of I did 3 years of kindergarten. I think it was when I was 4 years old, so like in the middle of my kindergarten years. We used to go to like some places to do excursions and stuff. And we went with our families, all the kids, to this castle that's called Castle of Groparello, which is a city, a little town, not too far from where I live. I think it's like an hour, 2 hours from where I live. And I remember going into the big bus and with all my friends, and we went there, and we were all sick at the end of the day because the air conditioning was too high. I remember that. But yeah, that's not the story. So the story is about this castle. So this castle, I actually looked it up. So they don't hide the fact that it's haunted. They advertise the fact that it's haunted on their site. And I'm gonna link the site under in the description. It's in Italian, I'm sorry, but you can see some pictures of the supposed ghost that inhabits this castle. And I remember when I was there, they were explaining us the story of what happened in the castle and who is this ghost that everybody seems to see. So the ghost of this castle, apparently it's a woman that it's dressed in white and usually has almost like even a veil. Sometimes it does, sometimes she doesn't. And apparently this was the story of a woman that lived in this castle and was killed by her husband in the 1200s. So apparently her name was Rosania Fulgosio. Apparently her husband was out on a military action mission, whatever. So it was, I don't know, doing some military stuff, and it was away from the castle. And while he was away, another rival of this castle came to try and conquer his castle, while his wife was the only like sovereign into the castle at the time. And this person that came to attack the castle was Lancellotto Anguissola, and apparently he was also an old lover of Rosania. They were supposed to get married, but her family didn't want them to get married, so in the end she ended up marrying this other guy. Lancelot is trying to attack this castle. He actually succeeds and wins. And when he gets to Rosania, she decides to forgive him and go back together, and they lay together. So they fall back in love. But afterwards, Lancelot goes away to tend to other military moments. I don't know why everybody was at war in the 1200s. And her husband comes back from his war and finds out that she cheated on him, basically. In the night, she poisons her wine and makes her fall asleep. He poisons with her wine with like, I would say like sleeping pills. It's not sleeping pills because they didn't have sleeping pills, but like a herb that makes you sleep. And then he put her inside a room and walled her in alive. So apparently this woman is still roaming the castle, and I remember when they told like a version of the story. Obviously they didn't tell the exact this one that I just told you, because this is one that I found on their site, and obviously we were four, so they couldn't really say, oh, she cheated on his husband. They had sex, sex. To 4 years old. And I remember they were talking about this woman, but they didn't say that there was a ghost of this woman going around. And I remember we were in this room and I could see another room. There was like this door open into another room. And I saw like a white movement, like a tent maybe it was moving. Like there was an open window and the tent moved. That was my idea. And I remember, and then we went into that room and there was nothing. Like there weren't any tents, there wasn't anything like that. In that room, I remember with that they let us explore a little bit, and it was connected to a little patio outside. There was this little, I guess, like a little balcony. I remember it was like made of a stone, and it had like a little stone fence all around this balcony. It wasn't really high up, and it was connected to this room through like a glass door. And I remember the glass door was open, so they let us also go outside. And I was the first one to go outside, I remember. And I went outside, and there was this woman like dressed up in like, I guess, old clothings. Like it looked, I guess in my mind, I thought she was like an actress. Because it wasn't the first actress that we would see, because we saw other people dressed like, clothings. And she was sitting, I remember there was like a little ledge, a little stone ledge with plants behind her. It's not like super focused in my mind because I was 4 and I don't really remember the moment, but I remember she was sitting there and she was like hunched over, like I think she was doing something. I don't remember what she was doing. I think she had like some clothing in hand that she was like sewing, maybe. I remember I went her to her because I thought she was an actress, and I talked to her, and she said something to me. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think I said something, oh, what are you doing? And she said, oh, I'm sewing, something like that. And then I just didn't care anymore, and I went back inside to go back to my teacher. I remember going to my teacher and telling her, oh, there is a lady outside that is sewing, it's so cool, she's like dressed up, she's an actress and everything, like something around these lines. We didn't go outside afterwards, so I don't know if she was actually an actress. So in my mind she's an actress, because I don't like to think that she was the ghost. Like if she was the ghost, I'm crazy. But I, like, with my teacher and I think a couple of other students, we actually went back into the balcony outside, and there was nobody. Which, I mean, there might have been like another way to go out from the balcony, because as I said, it wasn't like high up, it wasn't like a balcony per se, it was almost on the ground. So there might have been like little stairs made of stones that could have gone into like the garden below. So it makes sense, like logistically, that she was there, and then when she saw that everybody went back inside, she just got up and left the moment because she was an actress. So it makes sense that it was that. But in my experience, honestly, it feels like she was a ghost. And it's, I don't know what to say. Like, I cannot explain this one as well as the others. And the fact that we didn't know that there was a ghost, because they wouldn't really tell us. We were 4. They wouldn't tell us, oh yeah, there are ghosts, so be careful, there are ghosts. And the fact that I saw something that I cannot really explain, and then finding out later in years, because I found out that the castle is actually haunted like years later. I think it was like a couple of years ago that I checked it out, because it was like, oh, that was a cool castle. I would love to know exactly where it is. And I remember I searched it up, and there's this entire page about mysteries of the castle, and they talk about this ghost, and I was like, oh, a ghost? Okay. Okay, so I was just making sure the camera is still recording. I don't know why it's making some weird stuff. I just recorded another video before this, and she would turn off on her own. I don't know what's going on. Not gonna say this is a ghost because I'm scared of saying that. But yeah, I talked about my ghost stories, so hopefully you guys have some ghost stories that you can let me know in the comments down below, because I would love to hear some cool stories about the rest of the world. Because I talked about my experience, but I know that a lot of other people have experiences of the same kind, stuff. So I would love to know some more stuff in the comments down below. Please let me know some stories if you have some. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and happy Halloween if it's coming up or it's already gone. I don't know when this video is gonna come up, so happy Halloween. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please do like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Put on notifications so that you know when the next video is coming out. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.